Sometimes it's not your enemies you need to worry about. It's the ones who smile at you, call you friend, and slowly drain you from the inside out. They never say it outright. Hatred this close to home rarely comes with fireworks. Instead, it's slow, subtle, hidden in a look, a laugh, a silence that lingers too long. You begin to question yourself. Are they just tired? Am I imagining this? You're not. Carl Jung believed the unconscious always finds a way to speak, and when someone secretly resents you, their shadow leaks through, in tone, timing, and tiny acts of sabotage. They may not even realize they hate you, but their behavior tells the truth their ego won't admit. These things rarely show up in obvious ways. Sometimes it's a joke that cuts too deep. Other times, it's the silence that follows your success. But if you pay attention, the truth is always there, just beneath the surface. You won't find it in their words alone. You'll find it in the tension behind their smile, the hesitation in their praise, the timing of their silence. These aren't random behaviors, they're signals, patterns. And once you learn to read them, you'll stop doubting what your gut already knows. Here are 9 signs to watch out for. 1. Passive-aggressive behavior. Not all hate is loud. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, a shrug, or a delay. This is passive-aggressive behavior, hostility that never names itself but poisons everything under the surface. They never directly oppose you. Instead, they undercut you in ways they can easily deny. You ask them to help you prep for something important, and they agree, enthusiastically even. But when the time comes, they show up late, forget something crucial, and say, "Sorry, I've been so swamped lately. You should have reminded me." The message? You're not a priority, but they'll never say it out loud. Or you notice a sudden shift in tone. You ask if something's wrong, and they reply, "No, why would you think that?" But they avoid eye contact, speak in clipped tones, and go cold for the rest of the day. Their words deny it, but everything else screams resentment. Carl Jung referred to this as shadow projection. When a person refuses to acknowledge certain emotions within themselves, especially negative ones like envy, inferiority, or anger, those rejected traits don't vanish. They're projected onto others. Passive aggression is the shadow at work. Suppressed hostility leaking out sideways through delay, withdrawal, and mixed messages. What makes it so damaging is the ambiguity. You're left second-guessing yourself, questioning your instincts. But if this pattern shows up consistently, trust your gut. This isn't forgetfulness or moodiness. It's covert hostility from someone who resents you, but can't admit it even to themselves. 2. Emotional inconsistency. One day, they're unusually warm, checking in, laughing at your jokes, going out of their way to support you. The next, they're cold, distant, unresponsive. You replay everything in your head, trying to figure out what changed. But the shift is never about you. It's about them losing control of the mask. Carl Jung called this a fracture between the persona, the false self we present to the world, and the shadow, the buried emotions we refuse to acknowledge. When someone secretly resents you but still feels socially obligated to be nice, their emotional state starts to glitch. The kindness feels off. The silence feels sharp. You share good news, and they go quiet. No congratulations. No eye contact. Just a forced smile that doesn't reach their eyes. That's not forgetfulness, it's suppression failing. Their warmth isn't stable because it isn't honest. It's a performance cracking under the pressure of emotions they can't admit to themselves. And every cold withdrawal, every sudden distance, is the shadow peeking through. You're not imagining the hot and cold behavior. You're witnessing the collapse of a false front. 3. Subtle undermining. They don't openly criticize you, but somehow every compliment feels like a punch pulled just before it lands. You tell them about a personal win, a promotion, a creative project, something you're proud of, and they nod, smile thinly, and say something like, "Well, must be nice to have the right connections." Or worse, careful not to let it get to your head. It's not direct attack, It's dismissal disguised as advice, contempt masked as concern. They frame your success as luck, timing, or privilege, anything but merit. And when they give you feedback, it's never clean. There's always a quiet nudge towards self-doubt. I mean, if that's really the direction you want to go. Jung observed that envy, when buried in the unconscious, doesn't just vanish, it curdles. It becomes part of the shadow and resurfaces as subtle sabotage. These people aren't consciously trying to hurt you. They're defending against the pain of their own perceived inadequacy. So rather than admit, "I wish I had what you have," they choose the quieter path, minimizing your success so they don't have to face their own envy. It's not a lack of enthusiasm, it's a quiet war, waged from beneath the surface. 4. Lack of empathic attunement. When someone cares, their emotional radar is tuned to yours. They naturally pick up on your feelings, mirror your joy, and share in your sorrow. But when that bond breaks, the connection goes flat. You're hurting, and they barely react. "I'm sorry to hear that," they say, but there's no warmth in their voice, no genuine concern. It's a hollow response, empty and automatic. Or when you open up about something vulnerable, they avoid eye contact, change the subject, or dismiss your feelings. It's not that big of a deal. Jung believed that the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine aspects of the psyche, play a crucial role in how we relate to others. When this bond is fractured, someone no longer sees you as a complete person. They start relating to a fragmented image of you, perhaps the person they think you are, but not the whole complex being you actually are. Their response is a projection, not empathy. They no longer recognize the full depth of your emotions, only the parts they are comfortable with, or the ones they've decided to see. 5. Secret competition. At first it seems like harmless rivalry. Friendly competition is normal, even healthy, but when someone close to you constantly turns every interaction into a contest, it's not about fun anymore. It's about proving they're better. You share your latest success, and they immediately start talking about their own, something bigger, better, or more impressive. It's like your victory never happened. Or after you shine, they make sure to reclaim the spotlight with a story of their own. The real kicker? They never celebrate your success, not in a genuine way. Their praise is always lukewarm or dismissive. Well, that's good for you, I guess. This behavior isn't just competitive, it's resentment in disguise. Jung described it as an ego-shadow collision. Their ego, the image of who they want to be, clashes with their unconscious shadow, which is made up of feelings they refuse to accept: envy, inferiority, or self-doubt. Every time you succeed, you remind them of these feelings they want to bury. Instead of acknowledging their own insecurities, they turn to rivalry as a way to fight the discomfort. Your achievements reflect everything they feel they're missing, and that dissonance breeds silent hostility hidden behind the mask of competition. 6. Withholding support or presence. When you need someone, they're conspicuously absent. Not just occasionally, but when the stakes are high, during your graduation, a tough personal crisis, or a significant life change. You plan for them to be there, but they forget. No text, no call, no congratulations. They forgot your birthday or downplay your achievements with a casual, "Oh, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal." When they do make promises, they're always late or, worse, don't show up at all. This isn't about busy schedules or minor slip-ups. It's deliberate absence. Their silence and lack of presence aren't just neglect. They're a form of silent retaliation. They withhold the very support you need, making sure you feel their indifference. Jung described this kind of behavior as unconscious sabotage, where a person punishes you emotionally without admitting their hostility. Rather than confront their resentment, they act as if they are too swamped or too busy, leaving you to feel abandoned when you need them most. The real message isn't what they say, it's what they don't do. By failing to show up during important moments, they distance themselves from your life. and send a clear message of indifference masked as neglect. 7. Micro-expressions of contempt. Sometimes, hostility doesn't need words. It shows up in the tiniest fleeting expressions. A smirk that appears for just a second when you fail, an eye roll when you're speaking, or a quick flash of disgust before they recover their composure. These micro-expressions reveal what they're truly feeling, even when their words deny it. Jung believed the unconscious always finds a way to express itself, and micro-expressions are a direct glimpse into the shadow, the parts of the psyche we refuse to acknowledge. The mask of the persona, the socially acceptable face we show the world, slips for a moment. What leaks through? The shadow, raw and unfiltered emotion, often hidden even from the person experiencing it. These small gestures might seem like nothing, but they betray deep resentment, showing a subconscious contempt they can't quite control. The quick smirk during your failure, or the eye roll when you share something meaningful, it's not an accident. It's a signal that, underneath the politeness, they are judging you, dismissing you, or even silently enjoying your discomfort. They might be able to hide their true feelings in conversation, but their body never lies. 8. Chronic boundary testing. It doesn't always come in the form of insults. Sometimes the hostility is disguised as just being close. They pry into private areas of your life without being invited, reading texts over your shoulder, asking invasive questions, showing up unannounced, or making decisions for you without asking. If you push back, they laugh it off. Relax, I was just kidding, or wow, so secretive. The intrusion is masked as concern, humor, or intimacy, but it's not. It's about control. Testing your boundaries to see how much they can take without consequence. This isn't about affection. It's a quiet form of disrespect. Hostile intrusion disguised as closeness. Jung would call this the trickster archetype at work. The trickster appears when boundaries break down, chaotic, cunning, and destabilizing. It emerges when the mask of civility erodes and the unconscious seeks to disrupt. This person may not even be aware of their own motives, but their actions carry a deeper message. I don't respect your space, and I don't recognize your autonomy. They won't yell. They'll just slowly occupy more of your life than you invited them into, until it feels less like connection and more like invasion. 9. Emotional drain or psychic fatigue. Some people exhaust you, and it's not because of what they say or do outright. You walk away from a simple conversation with them feeling inexplicably heavy, foggy, or emotionally depleted. There's no fight, no harsh words, no visible tension, but something in you feels off. You might rationalize it. Maybe I'm just tired, or maybe I'm overthinking. But this isn't mental overanalysis, it's energetic dissonance. Your psyche is reacting to something real, even if your conscious mind hasn't processed it yet. Maybe they smile while subtly undermining you. Maybe they're perfectly polite, but their presence feels hollow or tense. You find yourself over-explaining, scanning their face for cues, or walking on eggshells without knowing why. That emotional drain is the cost of being around someone who, on some level, wishes you ill. Carl Jung called this intuition, the voice of the unconscious. Your body and psyche pick up what the ego overlooks. Before thought arrives, your unconscious registers subtle signals, shifts in tone, micro-expressions, or emotional incongruence. You may not be able to name the hostility, but you feel it. And that fatigue? It's your inner world screaming something's off long before logic catches up. By now, you've probably thought of someone, maybe more than one person. That's the thing about subtle hostility. It hides in plain sight. You don't notice it until you feel smaller around them, less certain, drained. But awareness is power. When you can name what's happening, you stop internalizing it. You stop thinking you're the problem. Jung didn't just talk about the shadow to expose others. He believed we must confront it in ourselves too. That's how we break the cycle. Because the more conscious we become, the less we project, and the more we protect. So whether you choose to confront it, step away, or simply observe from a distance, do it with clarity, with self-respect, with your energy intact, because you don't owe your presence to people who secretly resent it.